Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Moncano.
Hey all, it's the Fantasy Football Endgame Week 6 waiver wire for tight ends. And I'm not going to lie, tight end, not the most exciting position, and this is not the most exciting week for it. But there are a few teams now going to be on bye. A couple of big name tight ends, including Darren Waller, going to be on bye. You're going to need to find a replacement for them. Maybe you just like to stream tight end position. Whatever the case is, hopefully we can help you this particular week with your lineup. Before I get to my top 5 waiver wire picks for this week, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Do it now. Trust me, you'll be glad. All right, let's get to it. And my top name, like I said, maybe not the most exciting, but Jimmy Graham is getting it done in 2020. Right now in standard leagues, if you happen to play non-PPR format, he's 4th among all tight ends in fantasy scoring. And he's still doing a pretty good job in the top 12, just barely for PPR in as far as fantasy goes, because he's 12th in receiving yards and has those 4 touchdowns. Here's an important thing to know, though. This was what makes him valuable. Again, a little more so in standard, but in any fantasy format, he's tied for 2nd among tight ends in red zone targets with 9. That's right, tied with Kelsey, tied with Andrews. Incidentally, number 1 is Mike Gesicki. It's good to know. But Jimmy Graham, I know people don't really want a piece of that Bears offense necessarily, and he's not a young upcoming player. He's going to get the job done for you. Kind of low end tight end 1, streamable in any matchup. The matchup with Carolina coming up isn't necessarily the juiciest for a tight end, but he could get you several points. And as far as what else is out there, I think he's probably the top pick. Probably the next pick, I actually going to move him up a little bit. He wasn't really on the radar until he finally did something this week, and that's Irv Smith Jr. He was dropped in a whole lot of leagues. He's barely 5% rostered, I think, right now in Yahoo leagues, and rightfully so, had done 0, right? Nothing for fantasy or in real life, really. And checking out, if you follow Pro Football Focus, which you probably do, their grading system, he had graded out as the 2nd worst tight end out of all tight ends so far this year. That's right. He was like 63rd out of 64. Not good. And I don't just mean as a receiver, I mean just altogether. Whereas Kyle Rudolph was actually much better. He graded out 13th. Finally, on Sunday night against Seattle, he showed up in the box score. So that was definitely reassuring. Nice to see. I don't know for sure if we can say that this is going to be a trend, if it's going to be the same way going forward. They're going to make a point of getting him involved, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. But here's the thing. Going against the Falcons, it's almost a no-brainer that he has appeal. Again, if it was any other tight end, we might be a little more excited. But we know Smith has the potential. But the fact that he's going against the Falcons, who have been literally the worst defense against tight ends, didn't give up a whole lot in week 5. They were busy giving up points to the receivers. But yeah, this makes him very streamable. Again, the trust factor isn't there for me. I still prefer Graham, just much safer pick. But Smith, definitely somebody to keep an eye on going forward. And you could use him this week if you need to. Now, somebody I mentioned last week who actually paid off pretty big, not huge, but still had a long touchdown, wound up with 2 catches, 57 yards, and a score, and that's Darren Fells. That's because Jordan Akins, their other tight end, was out. Initially had a concussion issue, but then that was fine. The issue then became, I think, the ankle, and he was held out. So Fells stepped in, made a play. Fells is somebody who you might remember from last year, was definitely streamable because he wound up catching 7 touchdowns on the year. It was a little inconsistent, his usage. This is an offense that really goes to the tight end a lot. Deshaun Watson has plenty of other receivers to throw to, but Fells is going to get his. And so I think he's definitely usable this particular week too. Definitely somebody, again, the ceiling isn't super high, but at this point, if you're streaming a tight end, you're really hoping for a touchdown and that's it. And that also leads me to my next pick, which is Cameron Brate. Now, he did not score a touchdown last week, but he was kind of involved, had 5 catches, 44 yards. And we know O.J. Howard is done for the season. We know Gronk was done 2 years ago. So Brate's the main tight end there. I don't know if Godwin is coming back. That's the real issue. If Godwin comes back, that definitely hurts Brate's appeal. But he still is going to get some looks in the red zone because we know Brady likes to throw the tight end. So Brate, always worth consideration. But again, just a very risky play because the floor could be nothing there. So keep an eye on Brate. even though he's pretty much touchdown dependent. And then my last pick might not be too popular after last week. I was a big fan of the Mac Daddy, of course, talking about Alie-Cox. It was a smash spot against Cleveland, and he did not smash. He just smashed our hopes and dreams. Alie-Cox did nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean literally zero. But there'll be better days. My biggest concern isn't with him. I know people talk about, well, Jack Doyle and Trey Burton are there. They're back, so now he's a third tight end. No, he's still getting more usage than them. The problem is nobody in that entire pass offense did anything. My concern is not with Alie-Cox and the way he's being used or anything like that. The issue is Phillip Rivers. Is he done? Like done? Because he looked kind of done this past week. We'll see what happens. I mean, he should have done much better against that defense, but it's kind of a wait and see. Honestly, at this point, maybe if they go to Brate instead, that might help him. Not going to happen this week. So I would say Alie-Cox right now is more of a desperation play, and then they have a bye next week. So I would say don't worry about him this week or next week, but don't forget about him completely. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Down the road, he could still be serviceable. Don't just write him off based on what happened in week 5. All right, guys. Well, that does it for tight ends. Hopefully, we can help you in some other ways too. Check out our episodes on wide receiver, running back, and quarterback. Got every position covered, and you can find that all here on the end game. Hit that subscribe button. And if you have specific questions about who to pick up, who to start at tight end or any position, you can ask us right here in the comment section or follow us at Endgame Fantasy. We're here to help. All right. Thanks for watching.